The number one thing to build trust is if you feel like somebody genuinely cares about you, that is by far, and when you look at the most trusted people, who are they? They're teachers, they're coaches, they're advisors, they're parents. Those are the highest trusted relationships that we have. And it's because they genuinely care about us. And I call it value journalism, is identify what is truly valuable to people. Because if you understand what's valuable to them, you can care about their futures.
It takes something a little more to lead with impact. I'm Lisa Nichols, author of Something Extra, and this podcast was inspired by our daughter Allie, whose additional chromosome has shaped how I see people in leadership. Each episode features conversations with inspiring leaders from around the world about what truly defines how they lead and serve others. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please consider leaving a 5-star review. It helps more people discover the show. And if you'd like to go deeper, my book, Something Extra, is available on Amazon and through other major book retailers. Our guest this week is John Hall, speaker, author, and the strategic advisor at Relevance, who is currently reshaping how brands dominate the new era of AI search and answer engine optimization. A renowned growth investor and the author of Top of Mind, John specializes in helping leaders build radical trust and master their most precious assets, their time and their relationships. Well, John Hall, welcome to the Something Extra podcast. I am so excited about our conversation today. We have already been talking for about 20 minutes, and I have laughed more. My jaws are hurting. I have laughed so much. So I just know we're going to have fun, and we're hopefully going to give some good stuff away to our listeners. But, I just have to laugh because you and Jenny had hopped on before I got on here. She said, "How do you want us to introduce you?" Tell Jenny what you said.
Well, yeah, I just like it rolls off the tongue really easy. I said, "Hey, so just introduce me. I'm the captain of Lisa's scrapbooking club," and so you just say it with a straight face and serious. And she was like, "What?"
What?
And so, yeah, so I always just like the reason why I joke around on things like that is I always think that whether and I've given people permission to do that when I speak too, because in any situation, if you can break down a barrier and create some level of comfortableness at the very beginning, you have so much more progress you can make in that conversation, as silly as it is. So
It's so true. But what our listeners are going to find out, about John is he is incredibly brilliant. You're brilliant, John, but you are also funny and you've got a great sense of humor. And I love the authenticity of you. So I cannot wait to jump into this. But you and I met, we were at the Realign conference together. You spoke and I spoke, and we have our dear friends, Matt and Maria Granados, to thank for connecting us, right?
yeah, they had talked very highly of you for a long period of time actually, and it was kind of one of the reasons why I went to the event, because they were just like, "Hey, we're bringing together these really good people, and you were one of the top names on the list." So I'm glad we made the trip.
I'm glad we did too. Well, we're going to have fun. Well, I know that you're originally from Peoria, Illinois, but you
Hmm.
live in Columbia now. I think you went to Mizzou, right?
Yep. Yeah. Went to
Chris?
Mizzou and ended up staying there.
Yeah. Well, here's what I really want to talk about. John, I was looking at your bio, and you're not that old, really, but all the things you've done, I counted up 20, and I'm just going to name a few of these, okay? You started out with the Affordable Equity Partners. You've been a teacher at University of Missouri at Mizzou. You were the co-founder of Influence, American Program Bureau, advisor for Codebase. It goes on and on and on and on. I know that you were, calendar.com, right? You were founder there and advisor, investor. Now you're with Relevance. John, you have done a lot, but it didn't start then. You started like this entrepreneurial journey when you were in third grade.
Yeah. I started a lunch brokerage business when I was in third grade, and I would basically find out what kids valued. Then I'd talk other kids into talking their parents into packing that in the lunch, because then I knew that, like Gushers, you could get this for, Twinkies, you could get this for. And so then I would, find out what was valuable, identify the supply, get them to change the supply so that it was the highest valued. And then I'd, sell to different grades. And I actually got in trouble for it, where the principal called me in because I was disrupting working the lunch because there was a lot less hot lunch going on, because I was able to kind of disrupt that. So yeah, that was my first kind of
Andre?
entry into entrepreneurship, or at least like, and also just understanding what people value. The more you understand what people value, the more you can build real relationships and also, build success.
Yeah, and I think that's probably been one of the secrets of your success with all of your different companies and what you're doing now with Relevance. But you know, this was remarkable to me too. But by the time you graduated college, I think you were a millionaire by the time you graduated college because you bought a home and you flipped it, right? And started your own real estate company, John.
Yeah, so what I did there, same thing. It's you identified at a young age. I mean, it was kind of a crazy situation because my freshman year, I was supposed to actually go to Miami of Ohio. I ended up going to Mizzou because I read a bunch of Nicholas Sparks novels. I thought I was in love and meet this girl on a trip, and ended up she didn't end up coming there, and so I was like actually lonely because I was like, what the heck am I doing? So I didn't know anybody. Ended up making friends with people in the dorm. One I'm still friends with to the day to this day, but then another one was a new friend that I ended up going into, or we went to a party together. I left. He ended up staying. He tried to break up a fight and was murdered. I know that's a crazy situation, but afterwards, I was in depression, and so when I was in depressed on kind of how the world was going, I got out of depression by kind of working hard, and I got multiple jobs. I saved money and just kind of tried to not focus on it. Well, the business that was created from that kind of sadness and motivation to kind of take my mind off it was a real estate business where I'd identify what people needed in housing, and I'd meet students at events, and they'd say, "Hey, I want this," and I'd say, "Okay, great. If I can find that for you, will you sign a lease?" And so I'd get it pre-leased, go to the bank, and even though I only had like I think I saved $7,000 when we did our first home, it allowed me to find value, identify it before, go to a bank and kind of talk them into it and say, hey, and so I started doing that. And by the time I was a senior, I had done it, I think 8 or 9 times and maybe even more than that. And yeah, I had a real estate portfolio around student housing in Mizzou, which ended up being pretty valuable. So yeah, it ended up, the reason why I explain it is that a lot of people just focus on like oh yeah, I was a millionaire or this. And I instead of saying that, I like saying the real story of like, hey, like there was strategy, there was reaction to strategy, there was people that supported me throughout that. And then there was getting on a page where you could add value for others. And then it resulted in success. And that's kind of a, formula rather than just being like, yep, I made a bunch of money in college. So
Yeah, your motivation behind it, and like you said, finding out what was important to people. I mean, you still carry on that mindset today, and there is a mindset with an entrepreneurial kind of mindset. You know, I mean, a lot of people don't even develop that mindset, maybe ever, John, but certainly later in life. I mean, 19, 18, 19 years old, that was a pretty amazing that you had that mindset of, you know, finding out what was meaningful to other people and the risk too. I mean, taking the risk. I mean, did that ever come into your mind, like thinking about risk reward, or I mean, what gave you the courage, you think, to just try something that you'd never done before?
yeah, I'm actually a fairly risk adverse entrepreneur. As funny as that is, like I didn't make that jump until we knew the numbers worked. That even if it wasn't going well, that I was still not going to be kind of like in a bad place. Even to this day, out of our entrepreneurial friends, I would be consider myself risk adverse,
Mhm.
because some of them, like even my one of my business partners now is like he's like, oh yeah, let's double down on this, let's do this, and I'm just not wired that way. I'm wired in a way where like I'm okay with hitting singles, and I'm okay. I don't need to go for a grand slam. So a lot of times when you go for the grand slam, you hit it, and you hear those stories of the grand slam, so you want to hit that grand slam. I'm a fan, whether it's like a Warren Buffett style or others. I'm a fan of identify value for others, surround yourself with good people, and be okay with just compounding and building. And sometimes, as funny as it is, I've been able to hit some big I hit some things at some unique times, which have been great. But at the same time, is that my mindset is still like hitting the single, being calculated, actually being thoughtful. And so I'm just a different type of entrepreneur where I'm not like, hey, let's put it all. I've never put everything on the line, even when that $7,000 $100,000. I that first deal, I had a business partner. We had pre-leased. We had these things going for us. I was one of the tenants too. There was such limited risk there. So I don't want to. I think a lot of leaders act like they're just like such a brilliant entrepreneur in a way where it's like, yeah, I put it on the line and I was right. And mine was just like simple, like, oh, this kind of makes sense, and I set this up in a structure that is risk adverse, and then I've built on it for 20 years. So
Yeah, I mean, we're very much the same way. I mean, I just say slow and steady wins a race. There could have been times probably where we would have taken on more risk, but just slowly. So I think that's a really good word for our listeners. I mean, that hitting that grand slam, yeah, it might happen, but it's the things that you do day in, day out with consistency, I think, that really make the difference. Now, this is funny to me because you have really built your businesses, everything around relationships. Relationships are like the most important to you, John,
mhm.
but you have a master's in accounting.
Yeah.
Tell
Yeah.
me about those two worlds because I have an accounting degree as well. And I'm like, I just tell young people all the time, listen, there were not assessments out there when I went through school. Grateful that I've got it, but yeah, I'm very much more of a relationship person. Tell me about those worlds and how they collided for you.
Yeah, as funny as it is, I don't like accounting, and I got my master's in it. But part of it was because I knew I wanted to be good at business, and at that age, and I'm a fan of like working on your weaknesses. So because a lot of times your weaknesses are something that will just kill you, but you don't need to I want people to focus on their strengths in a way, but also it's kind of like sometimes if you don't work on your weaknesses, even though you have a great strength, the weakness will bring you down. So I looked at it as I was good. I always valued and I enjoyed relationship. I love, like, we're wired in that same way. We when we get on the phone together, we're just so happy to see each other because we, value the relationship there. What I don't enjoy is finance and accounting and those things where I kind of told myself is that if I go to school and finish out this way and I'm made to do this, then it's going to make me know this, understand this more, be able to make better decisions. So my advice there is, like, I know it seems like counterproductive, but if you do have an area that you know is going to be important to your future and you don't enjoy it, still try and be good at it because it's important to your future. And now, like, my director of finance, who's in the office next to me, I can speak her language. Like, I can understand where she's coming from when she's like,
Mhm.
hey, like this. And I'm like, okay, you're right. This makes sense. And it's funny as this, like, my business partner on a lot of deals does not understand that. And then I can translate it to him. It's like, hey, like, I was just on a call where I was like, hey, like, these numbers affected because of this. And he's like, well, why don't we do this? And I'm just like, so I think that a lot of times education and learning is about how can you make yourself the best version of yourself and not necessarily what you want or like to do. And so I do want people to like what they're doing and play to their strengths. But I also think a part of education is making sure you are well rounded, and that's a part of relationships. I have a strong relationship with her because I can speak her language
Right.
and relate to her. And that's where, like, I really try to educate myself to support relationships. So, like, even if I don't like something, like, I didn't like plays, but at the same time, I run into a lot of people who like plays in this. So I made myself understand, and I actually started understanding the beauty in them after I educated myself.
Yeah.
So I think that it's funny as it is, relationships is still number one for me,
Yeah.
but I try and learn so that I can support those and relate to people better.
Yeah. Oh gosh, there's so much that you just said that's so good. Because those weaknesses, I have a friend, John Renee Vidal, that is NCAA seven-time champion. He's now a collegiate tennis coach. I was just talking to him last week, and he goes, "Listen," he goes, "you may hate doing the backhand, but he said that's your blind spot, that's your weakness
Mhm.
because the backhand, the fact that you did not practice that backhand will be the thing that's your downfall, in a tournament." And so I do think I'm a very much of a strength finders kind of person, but you do have to be aware and you have to continue to work on those things. So, well, I do believe, and I want to talk about this a lot, but because we've had a mutual friend that really made a big impression on and a big impact on a lot of people. So I know, like, I do believe that relationships and your ability to relate to other people and be caring and truly love people and help people, I think is a differentiator for you, John. I really do. But you talk a lot about being top of mind. And in fact, I'm going to show our listeners, I've got John's book here, top of mind, and it is so good. Here's what it says: use content to unleash your influence and engage those who matter to you. You talk a lot about being top of mind. What does that really mean, like when it comes to branding and marketing?
Yeah, and for anybody who like, if you recommend that book, it's like I wrote it 8 years ago, maybe even nine with the initial ideas. And something I would say is that like some of it is very dated. That was before AI. It was before different things that you can scale some of the strategies with. So, but still, the idea of it will never change. Because the way that humans connect and the way that our memories work is that the more we're connected to someone and we show up in their long-term memory, the more opportunity can happen. So when you think about that, is that the first idea kind of top of mind is like building trust, like actually having an element where someone feels like you genuinely, the number one thing to build trust is if you feel like somebody genuinely cares about you, that is by far, and when you look at the most trusted people, who are they? They're teachers, they're coaches, they're advisors, they're parents. Those are the highest trusted relationships that we have. And it's because they genuinely care about us. And we know, even if we like my daughter this morning, she's not happy with me about advising her about something, she still knows that I can't genuinely care about her. And that's why there's a level of trust with us that just is super strong. So you've got to first form that. And that's where, genuinely actually keep an eye out for people. So I always try to end relation, even before we got on here, I was like, hey, is there anything I can do to be helpful? And I call it value journalism, is identify what is truly valuable to people. Because if you understand what's valuable to them, you can care about their future. So if a connection, if Taylor Swift tickets are valuable because their kid, really want to do that, and we have a connection there, that's valuable, and I care about them, and I'm like, hey, I can do this. And by the way, I don't have Taylor Swift hookups there, but I was just giving an example. But but that can be like kind of a personal one, but there can also be a, hey, we were just talking, and you're talking about Nick V, and I was like, you know what, I have a nice connection in film financing. Maybe I can connect the dots there. And I'm not doing it. I'm not going to be like, hey, by the way, man, I want a 20% referral fee on if anything happens. No, it's like, it's
No.
not legitimately that. Now, we do have structures of, it is good to align incentives sometimes, but I think genuinely the vibe that you can, if you, behind top of mind, is form that trust, care about others, do value journalism where you identify. And the reason why I call it journalism is because it's beyond just one question. If you say, hey, what's value? Like, oh, send me a client. Okay, well, what about your clients? Because you just say, send me clients, I'm not going to send you clients, because
Right.
I'm not going to send people unless I know that they're the right fit. It's going to be mutually beneficial. So you have to ask more questions. So once you get that, then it is understanding how you can consistent what we call trust touch points, where even if it's like on someone's birthday, hey, checking in, just I sent 3 birthday messages this morning. I have another friend that has health issues. I have on my calendar to check in with them. You start creating these processes to stay top of mind, and it's not just for business value, it's also just for relationship value, because the more you kind of do these trust touch points, the more you have a real connection. And the real and you, I'm not saying it has to be once a month, but like, even if you're touching base, like I have a friend, I have coffee with him once a year, we have a real deep conversation, and if we run into each other, great. But he knows that if I can help him, he'll come to me. I know that vice versa. So yeah, that's what the idea behind top of mind is, that the more you kind of build trust and have consistent trust touch points, and then I give examples of that, then you can actually have a relationship where when something comes up or there's an opportunity, typically there will be the connection that happens that is mutually beneficial for everyone.
Yeah. And I mean, John, with Relevance, you guys are using AI and you're optimizing with AI, all that. But I will tell you this, for our listeners, this is an awesome, awesome book. I mean, there's so many different practical practices in here. It's one of these that, I've been reading it and I've just been thinking, gosh, I just really want to slow down and really dig in and dig deep, and go over it again and again. Sometimes I have to read things a couple of times, I'm just telling you, to really get it into my DNA. But I highly, highly, highly recommend John. I highly recommend his book. So, and we just kind of talked about this, but this is your philosophy, is really radical helpfulness. And I love this, John. You say that you do not keep score when you're helping people in a world that feels transactional. I mean, you want to be genuine. You really do, want to let people know that you genuinely care about them. And I love that. But you have a friendship with a friend of mine, the late John Rulin, and I know John clearly impacted you deeply, John. But what are some of the greatest lessons? And a lot of people knew John Rulin. He wrote the book Giftology, and just this radical, generous giving, and thoughtfulness around gifting, right? But what are some of the greatest lessons that John taught you about relationships in life, John?
Yeah, I think a couple of them, like the first one was like curating good people and getting behind them and support them. So like what I mean by like we're not, it's not our position to judge others, but when we identify someone as someone who is serving others, and it's kind of like why I was connected with you, where I'm like, oh, like genuinely, I think she's trying to serve others and do good. Like, yes, is she going to make a money on the way? Does she have a business? Yeah, that's perfectly fine. But I like getting behind those types of people, and he did it for so long. When we started kind of combining circles, there was all these like genuine good human beings that we were like, wow, like you can have real conversations, you can identify how to serve others more, you can build companies where the people are treated well and the clients are served better. And so like that was really cool, because when we kind of combined our networks together and we both had aligned values, I'd be like, oh, like it was never like a, hey, introduce me to somebody who has this much money or this or whatever. It was like, hey, good humans that and it's funny because like I could get a connection to a billionaire and then nothing happens. Then I get a connection to somebody from Ruin, and you genuinely look out for each other. Like I mentioned Justin Donald on the call, like that was an intro where Donald like is super successful now, but back when I met him, he was kind of leaving Cutco and starting his own kind of brand and lifestyle investor. And it's funny just because like I didn't even barely know him, and Ruin was just like look out for him. So he had a situation where he needed to be in Columbia, Missouri, where I barely knew him, but I had an extra rental, or basically a property that was really nice that I had some flexibility. And I said, hey, you got to be in here because of this challenge that you have. Just stay there. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. And I go, I will even watch your kids personally because you have to take care of this stuff. And he's like, what? Well, it's kid. And I was like, and so he's like, you're really willing to do that? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, and that was coming from Rulin, where he's like, when you have this curation in these like kind of networks, like, and this, that was a situation where, it put our friendship on a track where like I mean, I just texted him the other day. It's like, hope things are going well in this. And we're just in such a comfortable mode, but like I've helped his business, he's helped me out. And so I think that that's the first thing with Ruin, is that like, when you kind of identify someone that's on a track that they can, really do a lot of good in the world, then, support them. And I'm not saying if somebody comes up and they're like, because I do think I also have the side of me that when people are struggling, you need to serve them as well. But I think that that's one of the things. And then the other thing is with Ruin is that like just when you kind of identify, like I have this thing programmed in me from him when someone like needs something, um, or like they're in a vulnerable state, where it's like, hey, like just be there, serve them, because it's like no matter what, like that is a way to connect with someone when there's like, let's just say somebody recently was having health issues, so it was like, hey, do what you can, identify what would serve them better. And like a lot of times he would do these thoughtful gifts for like celebrations, but he would also do thoughtful gifts when someone needed it at the right time to kind of get them on track. So I think that I have it ingrained in me that when you get behind people that, and you kind of create a network of not people just because of money or their status, but just because the type of person they're and the path you can support them on. And then in addition to when you identify moments, and these moments are ones where it could be like they have a business accomplishment and you're doing something, or it could just be, hey, there's like the one that I did 2 weeks ago was there's a very wealthy person in town that he serves other all the time. So I said, hey, like, and for his birthday, it was a big one for him. And I said, hey, let's spend time doing the mug which you kind of showed, but this is the mug that Roland did that is super customized. But we did that for him. And, it probably took 15 of my hours, but at the same time is that's someone who serves others all the time, and he never asks for anything in return. And so, you just got to step up for people at the right time, because then that recharges them.
Wow, that's so good. That is so good. Yeah. So, yeah, I've done a few of those mugs myself. So if you need a person, I mean, this is a really cool mug, people. So if you want a gift like that, reach out to John and he can help you navigate. Oh goodness. Yeah. What do you think that leaders often misunderstand, John, about influence?
Well, one of the biggest like this is one that I could even see in you is that like a lot of the times with building influence comes the battle between ego and influence, and what I mean by that is like you're a really good human, and a lot of times branding and influence comes with this oh, I would say this challenge of, well, if I do these things, then it could come off like egotistical. And you're a very humble person. And like, I think that's one of the biggest things with people that I see constantly, especially honestly with women. Men have less of a problem with getting their brand out there. And trust me, there's data that supports us. I'm not just being like that. But I think that with influence, you got to look at like why are you building it, and you're building it for the right reason. I've talked to you is like you're a vehicle for trust in for your company, and I think a lot of times people are have imposter syndrome, or they have this like, oh, if I come off wrong. And I think that, and what I try to tell people is like, look, like actually, one, we need more people that are humble and are out there. Like the friend I was just telling you about, is a very successful company, and I have to like fight him to accept an award, and I have to do this. And so I would say that reduce your barriers to get your brand out there but genuinely try and do it for the right reasons. Like when I talk to you about your brand, you're doing it for the right reason. You're not like, hey, I like doing this stuff because I want the personal attention. You're doing it because you have a good company, you have a good brand that you can actually create opportunities for people. So I think the first thing is like get past those self-imposed barriers, and that happens. It's a strength and a weakness. Your strength is that a lot of times you're humble, thoughtful, and look out for others. The weakness is that gets in the way of becoming the vehicle. And I'm not saying you have. I'm just using an example because it's more of a compliment,
Sure.
because this is how your personality is that when there's good humble people out there that are meant to be out there, don't let that distract, because there's a lot of super humble people that are out there that like I love seeing, where I'm like encouraging them. I'm just like, look, like do that more, because the egotistical people, I guarantee they're going to. We don't want this next generation to see that. So first reduce the barriers there, and then also it's like you're a vehicle for not just your company but for other opportunities. And so that's where it's like, when you think of influence as this vehicle for good for your company, for others, then it becomes this sense of doing this for the right reasons, and now I can push forward. And just don't put self-imposed barriers in the way, because then if you do that, then you're hurting yourself, but then also the people out in the industry, they need people like that to be out there. So that's going to be good for everyone, because it filters down. And that's why with Relevance, a lot of the companies we're working with are ones that we feel like should be at the top. They should be the industry leader. If somebody comes to us, like I don't want to bash any companies, but there was a company that came to us and huge budget, and they're like, hey, want you to work with us and make us the most relevant company in the space. And we're like, no. And I don't say because you suck. I say just not a fit. And
Right.
because I don't want to see them as industry leaders. Because honestly, it's like the way that they treat people, the way that their agenda is, it's definitely not coming from a good spot. So I think that I try to gravitate towards the people that should be the industry leaders. And if we all do that, it's a spread effect, because it's kind of like a company. If a company leader is good, the employees typically are in a better place. Same thing with company industry leaders in a sector. If the sector leader is good, it filters, and the other companies tend to follow suit.
Yeah, that's so good, John. That's so good. My brain was going, 200 miles an hour thinking. Yeah, it was so good. I love that. But we do need to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with John Hall on the Something Extra podcast.
Hey there! In a challenging business climate like this, savvy leaders look to technology to find an edge. This can mean the difference between staying ahead of the curve or playing catch-up. It's time to collaborate with the highly skilled experts at Technology Partners. Our team of technologists draws upon decades of experience for your project, with each bringing a passion for solving problems and a track record of success. How can we help you overcome your biggest technology challenges? Visit technologypartners.net to book a free consultation with one of our leaders.
So welcome back, everyone, to the Something Extra podcast with my friend John Hall. Boy, have we been having fun. You are just a wealth of wisdom and insights and just fun. You're just fun, John. I just love being around you. But I want you really to talk now about relevance and what you're doing today. And like I said, I mean, John has been part of so many different companies. It's really incredible, and he's not that old, so it's just really incredible all the things that he's been allowed to do. But I want you to talk a little bit about relevance. Tell us what relevance is. And I love this mindset of you, John. And I just think you talking about humility in our segment before. You're a humble, very humble person too. In fact, today you've got on a hat that says "Be humble and kind," and I love it. And so one of the things I know that you do at Relevance, there's no job that's beneath you. Whether it's fixing an air conditioner or taking out the trash, that mindset's really important to you. But tell us about Relevance, and then tell us about that mindset, if you would.
Yeah, well, actually, I'll start with the mindset because it started when I was doing the real estate company. I worked for a larger company while I was building that, and the boss there was very I eat first. Then once I'm done with kind of my servings, then you can as a entry level employee, or here's parking spots for the executives, and then the entry level people you park in the back type thing. And I remember how it made me feel doing that. And I remember, and there's modeling, role modeling, and there's opposite modeling. And what I love about opposite modeling is that I looked at that and I said, I never want people to work under me and feel the same way I did as, this person who was working my butt off, but then like kind of like cog in the wheel or just not valued. And because that's how it made me feel. So I think that, I try to eat last when there's, a company meal, or I think like a lot of times, like I'm out there pulling weeds or doing things because I think that it looks, the more you say like, hey, like I'm here, it's kind of like the Ted Lasso, like I love that show because it's like the more that you can say, hey, like I'm not above you. I'm not like, I'm certainly not smarter than some people in the building. I've just had some experiences and I've been blessed in a certain way that it's like timing lined up. God's given me gifts at certain times and there's certain reasons. So I think that the way to kind of, support others a lot of times is just to say, hey, I'm not above you and I'm here to support you. And I think that's a little difference. It was something that I changed in leadership over the years because I wanted them to feel like they were very valued and I appreciate them. So, and then with relevance was just following value. Again, I when we sold Influence, which was the company was started in 2011, it ended up being one of the larger creator and distributors of expert content media. Sold that in I think 2018. I had no intentions on being involved with a service company again. Like no interest. We started investing we acquired calendar.com. We invested in Gab Wireless. And that was purpose investing. It was like, hey, and like, it was funny because I was like, safe kids technology was a very important part of what I thought our next generation needed. So we invested in it very early on, and now it's like a several $100 million company, and it's really cool to see that because that's where like, hey, like let's do some good. But then what happened was, as we were investing in Gab, as we were doing some of these things, the need for growth marketing and organic marketing in particular, like trust building and stuff, came into play. So we basically had a side kind of company that was started out with like 5 people, where it was like, hey, like we want to use this on our investments because we had not had a lot of great experiences with other agencies, and so we were like, well, we'll just have like a team that does this. So then we had friends that were like, well, can they do it for us? We're like, sure. Then we had other like large companies that were like, well, can you do it for this? Then it was like 10 people, then it was 15. And then what happened was we made an investment in AI technology in a company called Adigy, where we actually, one of my best friends who lives 2 doors down from me was like, hey, there's an opportunity here. He ended up leading those efforts. So then we had a sister company that started from there and was investing heavily in AI technology and kind of the tech side of things. Well, then what happened was we had kind of 2 parts of relevance. One that had a lot of media connections, and one that was really good at content and SEO and things like that. Well, so what happened in the last like year or two, where we've had a significant amount of growth because the demand for our services has gone up significantly, is because these three areas, where we had a separate company, we had two parts of Relevance, they all became the biggest parts of AI visibility. So when you look at how you show up in ChatGPT, how you show up in Gemini, how you show up in this new world of marketing, the three components that are very important are technology and AI, so that you're actually, your data on your site is consumable, that you're actually set up structure wise for AI to understand your brand, what's being talked about. And we had a company dedicated towards that. Then also content and actually thought leadership and SEO expertise, which that's the next kind of phase where, just think about it. If you're an AI crawler, you want it to be consumable, set up the right way. You want to actually trust the company, and actually that they have a good source for information and it's set up the right way, so they understand SEO and the thought leadership aspect. Then the next element is the PR media, which a lot of companies just don't have, because either there's PR agencies over here, or there's a content agency here, or there's an AI tech. We just happen, like, and I'm just telling you honestly, Lisa, we did not plan it. We weren't like, hey, in the future we're going to be ahead of AI visibility and this. It legitimately, like last year, we were like, let's combine these, and part of it was because it just naturally happened. And then all of a sudden we hit the ground running. And then on top of that, we had invested in a company that owned media properties where we could test these strategies. So just imagine a publication is starting to struggle. We'll buy them, fix it up, and get it running again. Well, we have these media places where we can test these strategies out too. So we have these synergies with these three areas. Then you have a playground to play at, because everybody can say best practices and oh yeah, I learned this on from some big company getting content.
Right.
We actually had a playground to play in. So that's where it evolved into. Now we're really known as this AI visibility leader that understands, how to fill gaps with your current marketing strategy so that you can be set up for the future. Because that's the key thing right now, is that everybody's excited about AI visibility, but you still need to kind of naturally translate where you're filling gaps in your current kind of strategies that you're doing, and setting it up where there's some short-term, results, but you're moving towards these long-term, because this is where in the next year or two, everybody's moving towards this kind of AI is helping me make decisions. So that's where Relevance has kind of got on this really great growth path, where we're helping people fill those gaps, set up for the long term, get the short term kind of systems going, where you're set up to basically this next phase. Because this next phase is the biggest change in sales and marketing that's happened in 20 years, which was when Google came out. When Google came out and they started doing ads and things like that, that's where the most category leaders were starting to be created. When you look at like Adobe, HubSpot, a lot of those types of companies, Salesforce, they really got to jump on Google advertising and Google organic, and that's what kind of had them scale. We're in that same 20-year cycle where something is coming up that is so major that we have to kind of get on the track, be positioned, and if you're good in about a year, then you can kind of scale from there. So that's kind of the excitement of Relevance right now.
It's so exciting. And I'm just, John, I mean, I've had multiple conversations with you. I think everybody needs you. I think the beautiful thing about you guys is you got all the pieces, right? You've got the content, you've got the PR, the media connections, then you've got this AI piece that, we all need to be paying attention to. And it is going to change. It's going to change every industry, but certainly when it comes to marketing and sales, I think it's going to be just, if you don't prepare for the future, you're probably not going to continue to be relevant. No pun intended, you know?
Yeah, especially B2B right now, it is so important. Like B2C, you got a little runway because we're seeing conversion rates like a little lower, but it's still important with, especially with some companies. But like B2B, it's vital right now, because it's funny is that like we're seeing conversion rates 50% or higher from a GPT or Gemini or lead like that, because it's like, hey, I'm looking for a tech company with awesome leadership. That's this, that's this, that's this. It's like 14 different things. And then it's like your company comes up. And so, and it's like this one, and then there's these four other ones that could be, well, if you get that lead, they're like, oh, same thing with us. When people are typing in AI visibility and specifically one with media context and this and that can do this, then it's like it serves you on kind of this it's kind of like the first time where like Google is never really like I trust this result. It's like here are the options. now chat knows me more than a lot of my friends do. So like it's like, by the way, you should deal with this company because I know you don't want to work with anybody who's unethical or this company has these reviews where it said they like fired 20 people at once and treated them like crap. Why don't you pick this one? And I'm just like, you're right, I should pick that one. Great, sign it. So that's where we're going, and it's just changed a lot.
Yeah, I agree. Well, there's a few more things I want to talk about, and then we're going to talk about something extra. You are so incredibly intentional, John, with time management. The
Mhm.
only thing that we can't make more of, we can make more money. We can, hopefully make more energy, by getting proper rest and stuff. We cannot make more time. You track your days in 15-minute increments.
Yeah, and 15 to 30 minute. Yeah, it just depends on the day and how busy it is. But yeah, they call that time blocking. So that's an actual like really effective strategy. And yeah, like I do it both digitally and written. So that's also a memory kind of exercise where people joke around. They're like, wait a minute, you own, and I'm still an owner in calendar.com. And they're like, so you own that software and you still keep a daily. And then actually it's Granada's planner that I showed you. This is from Matt Granados with Life Pulse.
Right.
But every, the day before I always plan out my day for the next day, and it's these increments, and then I actually can only kind of hijack that if something becomes a priority over those to-do lists. So I think that like I'm a very big fan of being very deliberate on your time, blocking it off and prioritizing. And it's not like rocket science. It's planning out the day before, understanding what's important, and it's not just like with your business. Like I go on a walk with my wife every morning now. If it's going to be reasonably and it's not storming, we go on that walk. And people that can't be like we did. There was one priority last week that trumped it, but it was also like it's not more important. I was just like, hey, I have to do this board meeting or something at this time, and she's like, no, no big deal. But I think that like that's the way you got to think about time. And as funny as it is, like I went through this stage where I just felt busy, and that's where I felt value. It's like I'm on 20 calls a day. I'm this, and what's funny now, it's like I can just like really be deliberate about time and have one conversation and just sit back and chill out the rest of the day, and that's more effective than my 20 calls that I was on because it's a pride issue. I feel valuable the more harder I work. But now it's like, hey, work smarter, and the start of that is being valued or valuing your time and also just happiness. You want a balance with people you care about, so you got to be deliberate about it.
Yeah, that's so good. I think I read somewhere where you like the night before you even like put just five priorities, five or less priorities on sticky notes.
Yeah.
John. And I mean, we can't really, and I mean, so like give me an example of like what that would be. Your walk with your wife is going to be a priority, right? Maybe
Yep.
time with your children, this podcast with me was a
Yeah,
project.
so I'm looking at this. So this is the coffee stains, as you can tell, but
Yeah.
I just pulled this. But like, so this was one where this is a combination of to do. So I have priorities and to dos, and same thing digitally. But I can just show you but like in this case, the to dos where I needed a client report done. There was one of our companies was looking at a potential acquisition, so it was like this, and it's listed in rank. But then it's like a lot, and then it's a priority one would be pay kids because my kids did this work for me. So I treat like they have their own money and they have their accounts, and that took priority. So like the first thing I did to start the day was make sure my kids was aligned because if I forget that, that's huge. And then it actually has a self care. What can I also improve today? And so yeah, so the night before the to dos, you prioritize them, and then yeah, the way that I go is so this is maybe not the healthiest thing, but if it is a super important thing, I typically will not either leave the office or whatever until I get it done. And as funny as it is that I made that rule because I didn't want to be a procrastinator at all, and I didn't want to leave. And so now I rarely have to stay later because if it's super important, I prioritize it early on the day, and I make sure because I don't want to be in a time where it's 5 o'clock and I want to see my kids, and I'm like, well,
I didn't
you
get the one.
failed. You didn't get your
Right.
three things you needed done, and
Yeah.
so you
Yeah.
just got to make sure that. So
Yeah. Eat the frog, right? or as my grandson says, eat the green peas. You do that thing that you've got to do, and maybe you don't even want to do, but you do that first. So good. I just love the intentionality, John. I love the intentionality because if you don't plan it, then somebody will, right? And so good. Oh my gosh, there's just in the distractions. I feel like the noise of the world is so much greater than it's ever been before. So I love that you do that. There is so much. I know that you prioritize your family. I think I read something where you play chess with your daughter every night, which is so awesome. I bet she's getting really good, John.
Well, that evolves. Now we're playing volleyball every night with
Oh,
that
volleyball.
specific daughter. So
Yeah,
that changes. I don't want you to think that my daughter plays chess for her whole life, but yeah, she knows how
yeah,
to play it well.
yeah,
But I think that for that, it's it's being intentional about what a relationship means to you. Like, and the example that I give when I'm speaking is I always wear a pink shirt. Nobody I don't think, has ever seen me speak in the last 7 years without a pink shirt. And even when I went to the New York Stock Exchange and was on TV, like I would not get on unless I had a pink shirt, which was against their dress code. They didn't like it, and I guess I haven't been back there, so maybe that sends me a signal. But
oh, that's
but for me, that's important. And the reason why I wear a pink shirt is because my daughter, when she's almost 13 now. It was like when she was 6 or 7 or something like that. She commented on. She's like, "Hey, you're traveling a lot, and I love when you're home." And I'm like, do you ever think about us or me when you're traveling? And I was like, that hurts me that one, you want me to be home. Two, you are thinking of like, oh, I wonder what Dad's probably busy with work. And I was like, we need to. And that's like a step back where it's like, hey, I need to be intentional about this relationship. And so I said, hey, I'll always wear a pink shirt moving forward, so that that I'm thinking of you, and that you guys are always my priority. So I think that like those things are like we get caught up and we're tempted to not show what we value. So I'll give you an example. If I'm on a call with an important business deal, me 10 years ago would have been like, and my kid walks up to me, I walk, hey, hold on, like I'll get you, like it's important, so whatever. Now it's excuse me, sorry, I've got to take a break for a second. Hey, and I sit down. I'm like, make sure I send the signal that you're the priority, and and basically, okay, is it okay if I give like I'm gonna end this call? This okay, great. Doesn't matter who it is, because that's showing to me is like my kids know that they are a priority over anything to do with business. And it's okay if it screws up the call. Then is that somebody I do want to do business with that doesn't that wants to judge me for me being there for my kids?
yeah.
And so I think that that's been an evolution where I used to say, "Hey, I'm doing this for you, so you let me be, and that's a priority because I'm making money, so you can have." That's the shift in psychology where you have to be like, it's kind of the BS thing to think of is like I'm working really hard to provide money for my kid and I'm feeling this value. Where if my kid, if I don't prioritize them, they don't feel that value. So it's like it's kind of a conundrum there where you're like, and now I've kind of taken, and the reason why is because pride and ego come into play there, is that I want to feel like I'm providing, so my ego makes me feel like it's, but the truth is that most kids in relationships want that quality time and that you care and you're going to drop. So what you're doing for them. So,
Yeah, they want your presence more than a present.
yep.
Really, they want your presence the most. I love it. Gosh, John, we could keep going, but I have to ask you, this is called something extra. And I ask every guest this question. What do you believe is the something extra that every leader needs?
I mean, I would say like the biggest thing that's extra in my life has been faith, and so it's like it's crazy as I don't think that it's faith for everyone. I mean, for me it is, and I don't push it on others. I try to communicate, but the more that I've seen people become more value driven and doing the right thing, and even in situations where you're like it seems stupid at the time, I've just seen that make the biggest difference over time. Is that have that guiding light for me? It's faith now, and the more that I've been around people is that no matter what, they end up in a better place the more that they just kind of use that as a guiding principle. And I have atheist friends who they kind of changed and evolved into that value driven mindset, and better things happen for them too. So, I mean, that's cheesy and it's very simple, but I think that the more we hone in on that and make decisions based on that, it's unbelievable how things work itself out. One of the examples that I just gave with the company Addigy that ended up merging the tech side. One of the reasons why that company existed is because I was a landlord for a tenant that just signed a 7-year lease, and they were two entrepreneurs starting out, and they business wasn't working out as well, and they had another opportunity. Well, I could have said, nope, I'm not letting you out and screw you over, and I'm just gonna keep collecting money until you get out of business. Instead, I was like, hey, let's work this out. I want what's best, for you as well. And I ended up supporting them as not just a mentor, but as hey, like, let's get you guys on a good track. Now they're extremely successful. It's like laughable. They're so successful, but the gap that was filled was Adigy, and we kind of made that jump because of the opening. I was like, hey, I have space, Tim, why don't you do this? And then Adigy became this like force of nature that now it's put us on this track where now our company is on this momentum. So it's like at the time that was stupid. Who lets somebody out of a 7-year lease in year one? And so I think that the more that you do that, and the more that I believe it's faith. But if I don't want to push that on someone. I just would say, in my experience, it is. In others' experiences, sometimes it's just value driven decisions, and surround yourself with good people, value driven, and that's what makes the difference. So
Yeah, I concur.
yeah.
I concur.
Yeah, I know that's not anything
Well,
new, but for me, it's like it's the
no,
big difference in the last 10
I
years or
know.
5 years of my
Oh,
life that's made a bigger
made
difference.
all the difference for me. It's been made all the difference. So this has been so much fun. Thank you so much, my friend. This was a lot of fun, and I just know that it's going to help our listeners. I hope that people reach out to you. Follow John. He writes. We didn't even get into that, but you write for Forbes. You write for like lots of different publications and stuff, John. So, just follow John, CNBC, Fast Company, many others. He's got a lot of thought leadership out there, and I know that's going to help you. So follow John, and yeah, thanks again for making the time.
Yeah, always happy to be here for you.
Something Extra with Lisa Nichols is a Technology Partners production. Copyright Technology Partners, Inc., 2019. To learn more about this week's guest, check out the show notes at tpi.co/podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, consider leaving us a review. Thank you for listening to Something Extra.